On our way to Tennessee, Megan drove the Jeep separately because of the steep hills. The campground we stayed at was great. We had a large site with lots of grass and a view of the mountains. Ended up having to move sites last minute because there was a flash flood warning, so us along with many others, we had to move to higher grounds. So today we're going to be doing some cave tours along with some hikes, possibly. There were a couple of cave tours nearby and we chose this one. Our tour guide was great and we had a lot of fun, and it was only $15. It is a smaller cave. We ended up doing the walking tour, but there is also crawling tours you can do as well as different walking ones. We then went to the park and ended up walking around and doing a small hike. We did get there later in the evening, so we didn't have a lot of time before the sunset. But we decided to do a 3-mile hike. This ended up turning into a 1.5-mile hike because the sun was setting and the trailheads were down and we didn't really know where to go at some points. Megan has an app for hiking trails and it rated this hike as easy. I definitely would say it's not easy. It is doable, but it's very steep and you have to wear good shoes with treads or hiking boots. The following night was Halloween. We decided to go out to downtown Bristol. We ended up walking around, we ate out and had a good time. We also drove separately again when going to North Carolina. And once we got there, we set up camp and then we went out immediately and started driving around. This was the first spot we stopped at, and it was more difficult than we initially thought. Going down to the bottom, it was a lot of rock climbing, and after this, we only had the ropes to use as a handrail. It's definitely worth the time and the effort to get down to the bottom because it was beautiful. We then drove through the Blue Ridge Parkway to see the sunset as well as all the mountain views. The pictures and the videos do not do it justice. If you have it on your bucket list, you definitely need to come to North Carolina and see the mountains. Parkway and we're at Water Rock now right now at this lookout point and we're watching the sunset. It's super beautiful here and I absolutely love the mountains. Today we are touring the Biltmore House. We just got done touring the inside and we're going to go tour the outside. This was built in the early 1800s, opened to the public in the early 1900s, and it sits on 8,000 acres of land in Asheville, North Carolina. So we were supposed to keep our masks on the entire time. But we're outside now, so I'm taking mine off. But we did get yelled at when we tried to take a photo with it off inside the house. Typically you're not allowed to drive around the outside, but because of COVID we are allowed to, so we're about to do that soon after we get done going through the gardens. We're going to the gardens now. Oh. So we came here as kids, our parents brought us here. When we were touring the inside, we noticed some things we didn't see before. We went down into like the Halloween room, which we did not realize was a thing. So we missed out on some portions of the house, but we were also able to see some new ones. We did end up only walking around the house in nearby gardens because there is over 70 acres of walking paths and gardens.
Out in the rose garden, as you can see, there isn't that many flowers as it is fall, but it is still very beautiful. Since it is November, they started to decorate for Christmas in the house, and we were able to see some of that. Since it is a weekday, it's really nice to walk around the gardens as there's not a lot of people here.
Overall, the day's been really nice. We're just kind of walking around and seeing all the sights. Right now we're walking back to our shuttle so we can go to our car, and then we're going to do a drive around. If you want to visit, I would definitely recommend going later in the afternoon because there's barely anybody in line. We ended up going back to the Blue Ridge Parkway, and we decided to do a hike to the top of one of the mountains. Overall, the path is very steep and the elevation does go up fast, but in the end it was all worth it. We did meet someone who was camping in only a sleeping bag at the very top.